Hello, this is my video summary number 4. First going to go over chapter 5 and the key points that I took from the chapter titled Constitutional Principles. Basically, the points at the top of the chapter are the ones I'm going to talk about: the Constitution, federalism, separation of powers, the impact of the Commerce Clause on business, and the impact of the amendments on business. The chapter started off by explaining what most of us know, which is how the legal framework for our country is provided by and through the Constitution. And within the Constitution, the first 10 amendments were designed to specifically protect individuals' rights. In the U.S., the authority to govern is split between state and federal governments. And what this is known as, this system is known as federalism. Under federalism, local governments are given authority to control local matters, and then federal government has whatever power that's granted to them by the Constitution. There are often conflicts that arise with the system of federalism, and that it could either be something like federal legislation affecting businesses being passed, or even like a regulated party not being able to comply with both state and federal laws simultaneously. So when a conflict like that happens, the outcome of the disputes between state and federal government, they're controlled by something called federal supremacy. And all federal supremacy really states is that any local or state laws that conflict with federal laws or the Constitution, that they're just going to be done away with. So that's how they deal with any local or state laws that may interfere with anything that the feds have going on. They're just going to do away with it, pretty much. It may seem a little best thing I can think of to describe that as like overpowered, but what they have in place for that is to ensure that the federal government officials don't abuse the authority given to them through things like the Supremacy Clause. We have what is called the separation of powers. As most of you know, we have 3 branches of government: the legislative, executive, and judicial. The legislative branch, of course, is in charge of enacting laws and appropriating funds. The executive branch, these laws are faithfully executed, and the judicial branch interprets the laws. Each of these laws were given a separate sphere of power, is what they call it in the chapter. And that basically means that no one branch can become so powerful that they dominate another branch. And that system is called checks and balances. And in checks and balances, powers given to each branch operate to keep other branches from seizing enough power to dominate. Yeah, basically what I just said. So that is separation of powers. The next thing that was talked about is the impact of the Commerce Clause on business. The Commerce Clause empowers Congress to regulate business with foreign nations, with Indian tribes, and among the states. Basically, this clause made it possible for the government to regulate things like trade and exchange, transportation of goods, and interstate activities that affected interstate commerce. And lastly, the impact of amendments on business. As I mentioned before, the first 10 amendments of the Constitution were designed to protect our individual rights, and they're known as the Bill of Rights. And they have a huge impact on both legal and government regulation of business in the U.S. So even though the Bill of Rights were put in place to protect individual human rights, corporations are seen as artificial persons. So the same way that the Constitution guarantees certain freedoms to individuals, and protects them from being infringed on by the government is the same way that they protect corporations when it comes to amendments regulating the business environment. And that's basically all I have for this video summary and what I took from chapter 5. So